Welcome to Living a Full Life podcast. Join us as we explore health topics that encourage raising healthy children, living a healthy life, and living the best life possible. Now, here's your host.
I'm Enrico Dolcecore, and I'll be your host this week. Thanks for joining me. This week's topic, you are weak. No, you're amazing. I'm just kidding. This is a topic, though, that I wanted to get into because of a debate I had with some other practitioners recently, professionals, doctors in different fields, optometrists, whatever it may be. And it was interesting. And it made me think, you know what? This is a great podcast topic about strength, but starting it off with a kicker like that, saying, you are weak. I'm calling you out, people. And the debate went like this. I was on the wrong by everyone. So I brought up my theory. I'm like, hey, you know what? Humans are weaker now than ever before. And then boom, all three of them were like, what? Evolutionary, and then they went into their defense of how we can control the environment. We're the top of the food chain. We adapt, we build homes. We can control our surroundings. No other species can really do that at the level that we can. And I'm like, that doesn't answer my question about our strength. And as soon as I started to say, you know what, Olympic athletes, NFL players, professional athletes, supercharged CrossFit champions. I mean, athletes are probably the strongest people on the face of the planet. And if we go through history, probably some of the strongest people ever. To think about it, because of how far we've come. We have access to nutrition, medications, facilities, equipment. I mean, the training facilities are amazing. I remember talking with my dad about history, about how the pyramids were built, how they built the Acropolis, the Colosseum in Rome. Like, how did they do this 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago without technology? How did this marble and this stone get? And it was with like hundreds of people pulling it by rope against their will. But that's how they did it. They had manpower, the way we used to call it, manpower, bringing this stuff in the dozens and hundreds of people that would do that. A construction crew today is not made up of 150 people moving stone to create a cement pathway for people, or a cobblestone pathway to the palace, right? We have machines and technology that can do it with a group of 6 construction crew members that can do that. So I understand where they were thinking. And as soon as I brought it up like that, I'm like, I think that we have the strongest athletes probably in the history of the world. As a collective, as a society, we're pretty weak. And then that's where they were like, yeah, I guess because we have adapted our environment so much, we don't have to think about climbing trees to getting away from an attack. All this stuff our prehistoric past was our Paleolithic people had to do, hunters and gatherers, right? They were probably really strong. So I was comparing it to that. I'm like, they were on their feet every day, going out. And if they did catch something, whatever it may be, a deer, an elk, a bison, whatever it may be, they had to bring this thing back. Like, you got to think about that. That's not easy. We don't do work like that anymore, and as a chiropractor, this may sound horrible, and please excuse me. I'm trying to prove a point here. People come in like, I gardened on Saturday and I'm in a lot of pain. I pulled a hammy, doc. I'm like, how did you pull a hammy pulling weeds? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I've hurt myself doing dumb stuff too, but it's just over time, you're like, how do we have such repetitive injuries? And it comes down to strength. It comes down to conditioning. People will come in at the beginning of softball season, the beginning of hockey season, right? They come on in. We started hockey. I went skating. And the conversation is more like, I went skating, played hockey on the weekend, and I have to dig deeper. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you play hockey. They're like, well, the season just started again. I'm like, okay. Did you play last season? No, but I played the season before. I'm like, so 2 years ago. They're like, yeah. And this was your first time skating? Yeah. And your calves hurt? Yeah. A lot of pain. I don't know why the left one really hurts. I'm like, maybe because it's been 2 years since you went skating, you played a game the first time you skated. Maybe you should have maybe gone for a lap first, or done a practice, or skated with your kids first, maybe a couple days before. Yeah, that would have been a good idea. Did you stretch? No. After? No. Oh, okay. So repetitive injuries happen because of our use. We don't do it. We sit. Most of us sit for work. We work in front of computers. We sit in front of the computer to do a podcast, whatever it may be. And we sit a lot. We don't work out as much as we used to. So the ratio of a sedentary life versus an active life, you can't argue with me, is tipping in the other direction of we are much more sedentary now than we were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, definitely for sure, right? Moving horse and carriage to today is very different life. Hey, don't get me wrong. I love living in 2023. It's pretty awesome, but we have to keep that into mind. And this is where exercise plays a huge role. You do it to maintain your strength, and maintaining strength prevents injury. That's it, folks. That's the linear algebraic equation to why we exercise. It's to maintain our strength and to prevent injury. And the prevent injury list is huge, not just from muscles and tendons and ligaments, but bone. I mean, people who exercise have a better end of care or end of life scenario than people who don't. It's been shown over time they're stronger right later stages of life, where they don't become osteoporotic. They don't have the risk of breaking bones. I mean, one of the number one or maybe number two, causes of cardiovascular or non-systemic death is falls that lead to something, falls that lead to an embolism, a bleed out, whatever it may be, because we fractured a bone in our hip or a leg or our arm, wherever it may, our wrists, whatever it may be. We hit our heads at later stages of life. That's the risk factor with that. So the argument was interesting, but I took a defense on well, we're so amazing now. We are technologically so amazing now, but from a combative perspective, from a human perspective, we are not. I mean, those photos that we look at from the 70s on the beach, you see it on social memes all the time. Clearwater Beach in 1970, Clearwater Beach in 2019, and the comparison, and everyone's probably double the weight. And that's what they're trying to prove is like, look, what's happening over 50 years is we're not getting lighter. We're not getting, lighter on our feet. We're getting heavier. We're getting lazier. It's just the truth. And we have to be aware of that. It is a call out, but it's not a call out in a bad way. This is more of a PSA about, getting out there, moving yourself. If you feel stiff, if you feel sluggish, it's because your body is not designed to sit that many hours during the week. Really take a moment right now or right after this podcast and think like how much activity, vigorous activity where I'm lifting or pushing or doing stuff versus sitting. I mean, you don't have to think long on this. The answer is pretty obvious. And that's the issue here. Now, do we have to work 40 hours a week and work out 40 hours a week? No, but we need to offset that somehow. And the rules when it comes to exercise for strengthening is 120 minutes of heavy exercise per week. 120. So about 2 hours of exercise per week. So these are like 4 30-minute workouts, whatever it may be, where you're lifting body weight type work. So not heavyweight. You don't have to go to the gym and start, leg pressing 1,000 pounds. It's about starting to use your own body weight to do this stuff. So push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, burpees, crunches, lifting your legs, bird dog, all these types of exercises that we can do. Yoga is a lot of strengthening in there as well. So, and just creating a balance of this and understanding that, yeah, you know what, I do feel not as strong as I was when I was younger. I do feel not as strong as, my grandma was, and that's where we can move forward with understanding that, hey, strength plays a huge role in health. And that's where I was going with that. It wasn't a debate. We didn't turn it. I didn't want to start it as a debate. I just said that, and it turned into this. What are you talking about? I mean, this is the best time to be alive. I'm like, no, I understand. But as a collective, don't you see that in your practices? And there was a physical therapist. There's an optometrist. We were talking about this stuff, and it started with a joke before where I'm like, man, for humans, you'd think eyesight would be an important evolutionary thing to keep. Why are we all going blind, right? I was joking because my prescription was changing. I'm like, how can my prescription, why can I not see at a distance? I'm not like a negative 2.5, but if I don't wear my glasses, everything's blurry. If I go to a hockey game or if I try, and I'm sitting in the seats, I won't be able to see the writing on the board. The players will look blurry to me. So I got to wear my contacts or my glasses. And it's so normal now. The optometrist, I was expecting this awesome answer about, what you can do to prevent astigmatism and improve your eyesight. And he's like, no, you just wear glasses. We can adapt to the environment. I'm like, yeah, but running away from a lion and remembering my glasses doesn't seem like an important evolutionary trait that we should have developed. And we came to a good ending to this conversation together on this, because they're like, well, that's the whole point. We change our environment. We don't have to run away from lions anymore. I'm like, you're not seeing it from my perspective here. We're evolving the wrong way because we're adapted. And then they understood that, yes, you're right. Because we can do that, we are changing as well. And I'm like, not for the better. And they didn't like that either. They were like, well, yeah, we're smarter. We have access to more information. And it ended up with, if the power goes out for 20 years and we just can't restore any power, how well do you think our society will do? And they were like, oh boy, we're going to eat each other. Pretty much. That's what we're going to end up doing. So when you take away the things that are making our life so comfortable right now, it's not there. And we have the gyms, we have the power equipment, we have the lifting equipment, we have weights, we have technology, we have bands, we have, yes, we do. We have all this stuff and we should use them. But this stuff, the power shuts out and you can't use the electrical equipment anymore. Then what do we do? So that it's your job to maintain your overall strength and health through movement. And that's the importance of this podcast here, is that we are getting weaker. And it's because of weakness that we put ourselves up and become more prone to injury. So to prevent injury, we just need to be stronger. Easier said than done. It's just a methodic routine. Habits create change. And it all starts with I'm going to start a new habit. And my new habit's going to be some type of activity every day. Stop putting numbers and repetitions to these goals. I think this is where we fail, is we set that we're going to go to the gym, we're going to go 30 minutes, we're going to do 6 exercises, 4 times each, 10 reps each. Those are a lot of requirements to define a successful workout. I don't think you need to do that. I think I'm going to go to the gym for 20 to 30 minutes. That's not a bad thing. Just going to the gym. You're going to do something. Don't sit there and watch the one screen that's on. Sit there and do something is a win. It's the habit of going to the gym 3 times a week or working out 3 times a week that over time creates and builds strength and health wealth, is how I call it. You get more health wealth. You build that bank of health. And that's what it is there, to prevent injury, to prevent things down the road. We know exercise is an important role for maintaining health, maintaining blood sugar, it's just got all these positive effects to it. So that's where habits. So create new habits and making time for this. That's where it is making the time to create new habits. That's how you're successful. When other things trump or become more important than your strength and your health and your workouts, then guess what? You just don't do the workouts. So another thing that's easier said than done, but it's creating it. One of the best things that I've done in the last 5 years has become difficult, but it was difficult. It's much easier now, as being a master or being a student of my calendar, where I every Sunday sit down and just write in the things that I need to get done this week. And working out and prepping meals is always at the top of the morning shift of the day. I write it right at the top of each day. So, prep for Monday, Tuesday, meals, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I've got my workouts, and just sticking to this. And I still use paper. I use one of those weekly planners. I love them. And if you're digital, you can use your phones are great too. Set reminders, set alerts. These things are fantastic ways to maintain and hold you accountable to your habits that you're going to commit to yourself today, right? It's the whole point of this. You're listening to this podcast. It's supposed to motivate you and supposed to give you some feedback and use, current data and PSA announcements that will help you live healthier. That's the whole point of this. So when it comes to strength, you are not weak. You're amazing. You are truly amazing. And we want to end it up with saying you are strong, you are able, you're capable, because you got to leave with some motivation that you are. And the point of starting it saying you're weak was just a fun way to call out the podcast and just get your attention. These titles have to be attention grabbers. But I hope you got my point. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way. As a collective, we need to do better. I mean, these repetitive injuries that we're seeing, these surgeons are booked months in advance doing arthroscopies, arthritis fixes, knee replacements, hip replacements. I mean, we're replacing parts of our body because we wear them out because of strength. That's the truth. Off balance and lack of strength is what leads us to wear down our joints. But we also live longer than we used to. So joints maybe don't last 90 years or 80 years like they used to. So actually, we never used to live that long. So they never had to make it that long. So I get it. I get both sides of it. And it's cool how technology is. So we have access to this. But I think that access and knowing we have access to it has made us a little bit lazy thinking when it comes to our health and movements. Like, that's okay. I have other ways to offset that. If I do start to hurt because my joints start to hurt because I don't exercise, I can just take a leave, right? These little things that we lean on as a society have made us weak. And that's it. I'm just calling it out. I'm calling it as it is. So get out there, create new habits, try your best, set some goals, some simple goals. And once you become consistent and you create these new habits over 30 days, that's all it takes is 30 consecutive days to create new habits. Then the habits become more fun. Then you want to change. Then you want to challenge yourself. It's no longer 20 minutes of just going to the gym. It's now 30 minutes of going through 5 exercises, 3 sets each, right? Without a rep goal. And then once you start doing that, man, I have to increase the weights by 10 pounds. It feels too easy. And then you increase it by 10 pounds. And that's how we go there. One last tip about working out. If you do get back to working out, start light, and you're better off maximizing the weight as fast as you can as the weeks go by. Just keep going up and up and up until it becomes so difficult that you can only do 3. Once you get to that point, and you can only do 3, you're developing muscle fiber tension at its max peak without hurting yourself, and always listen to your body there. So that is my fastest kind of hack when it comes to lifting, is get to a maximum weight as fast as you can and don't be too stuck with the reps. There you go. That's it. You're going to see faster results. You're going to feel stronger, faster, and you're going to function better, faster. It's the fastest way to do it than going to the gym for 6 months and using that same weight and getting up to you're like, why not? I can do 15 reps at 30 pounds when really you should have been at 100 pounds at 5 reps. Does that make sense? So there's a little cheat there when it comes to strength. If you really want focusing on strength, is trying to get to the maximum amount of weight you can push 3 times, not just once. Once you can give it 100% and do 1 and break a record. But that's where it's too heavy, and that's where we see tearing, muscle tendon tearing, and issues there. So if you can do it 3 times, then that's probably your max weight. If you can do it 10 times, it's too light. That's my tip when it comes to that. You are not weak. You're amazing. Have a great week. Stay healthy. Stay.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Living a Full Life podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.